Or time to move back to one of our top stories. The British government, well, in chaos, let's be honest. Prime Minister Liz Truss's future hanging by a thread. It's all over the papers, and Dipti is bringing that to us today, Dipti.
That's right. So it's on the front page of the Daily Mirror today. Utter chaos, it says. This after Liz Truss's Home Secretary, the Interior Minister, quit and launched a very fierce attack on the Prime Minister, basically calling on her to accept responsibility for her mistakes. The Sun also featuring Liz Truss on its front page with this headline here, broken, it says, and also the Sun saying that essentially Liz Truss's authority is in tatters after what was quite an extraordinary day in Parliament. And the Daily Star, the tabloid, once again evoking those comparisons between Liz Truss and a lettuce, because as a bit of background info, there is a sort of bet running on whether which will wilt quicker, the lettuce or Liz Truss. The British press steward never missing an occasion to be cruel and mocking of its leaders. The cartoonists also having their say in things. This is from the cartoonist Peter Schrank. He's a Swiss-born cartoonist, and here it's pretty easy to understand. He sees Liz Truss's ongoing problems as a curse of Brexit, and there you have the graves of David Cameron, of Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and perhaps Liz Truss, if at least that's what the speculation is. And finally, you have this cartoon here from Andy Davey, a British cartoonist, who sees Jeremy Hunt as the firefighter who's putting out the flames caused by Liz Truss. But there is a bit of collateral damage here in the middle here, with those tax cuts and policies sort of extinguished in the process.
And Liz Truss looking very wet as well. Let's move on to an unprecedented trial now for this next story. It's begun yesterday, in fact, in Poland. It's one that will really test the country's very, very strict abortion laws.
That's right. This is from the website of the German broadcaster Deutsche Welle, Stuart. It's what is expected. It's what the website is calling the spectacular trial that began yesterday in Poland. It's that of Justyna Wydrzyńska. She's a 48-year-old activist in Poland who faces 3 years in prison for aiding and abetting an abortion. Now, you'll remember that Poland, after Malta, has the most strictest rules around abortion in Europe, with women not even allowed to terminate a pregnancy when there are known deformations or malformations with the baby. Justyna is an activist with the Abortion Dream Network, and her defense is that she was merely sharing her own abortion pills with a woman in need, not inciting her or encouraging her to have an abortion. The woman who she helped and her husband are expected to testify in this trial that will continue on next year as well. The verdict is expected sometime in February, Stuart.
French story for you now. This is the chaos surrounding the introduction of France's 2023 budget, with the government using this constitutional right.
That's right. It's making the front pages of L'Humanité. You have here L'Humanité. That constitutional article is 49-3, and it's basically the government's sort of get-out-of-jail-free card. It allows them to push through a bill without needing the approval of the opposition, unless the opposition passes a vote of no confidence. Anyway, for L'Humanité, the communist paper, it was and the fact that they used it was really an admission of weakness for Elizabeth Borne, the French Prime Minister. And you see that same word, faiblesse or weakness, on the front page of Libération, the left-wing paper, it too saying sort of an admission of weakness on the part of the government.
Now, to the US Mint, they produced some new coins. This is honouring, isn't it, Dipti, for the first time, the first Asian-American actress in Hollywood?
Yeah, it's an incredible story. Her name was Anna May Wong. She was a film star that the New York Times says had a trailblazing career, but she also struggled to secure meaningful roles in Hollywood because it was pretty racist at the time in the 20th century, very closed off to diverse to actors of diverse backgrounds. The New York Times tells us, for instance, she couldn't even secure romantic leads because there were laws in place at the time that prohibited actors of different races from kissing on screen. Anyway, Anna May Wong is getting her much-deserved recognition several decades later. She's now being honored by the U.S. Mint, which will begin printing 25-cent coins with her face emblazoned on it from next week. Around 300 million coins are expected to be printed. Wonderful tribute to a woman who was really the original activist, or really who paved the way for diversity in Hollywood well before it became a trending hashtag.
And finally from Dipti, this is me. This is the British Daily Telegraph looking at the rise and rise of the so-called airport dad.
That's right. We all know one, or maybe in your case, you are one.
It's me.
Usually, I think there's only one in a family. I mean, there might be more than one, but that's pretty stressful. Basically, the airport dad is the stressed-out traveler who has to micromanage every moment of the airport experience. So they're the ones you see loading the suitcases themselves, stressing out about the check-in desk, and then stressing out because the bag drops are not open yet. Insisting on walking strides and strides in front of their family in the airport, and of course carrying all the passports. Beware though, they're not all necessarily men. There are some women. Anyway, the hashtag airport dads is kind of a trending hashtag on TikTok, and this video really explains it quite well. You see the father here cooking all the food that was left in the fridge the night before, getting tired in the taxi, arriving way too late at the airport. And actually, come to think of it, I think there is an airport dad in each and every one of us already.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about 4 hours early to the airport. Maybe 3 is enough, I think. That's my tip for the top. Thanks, Dipti. Dipti Gulorol with the papers on France 24.